Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I am Tony the Quano.
So, Tony, the last few movies we've done have been a little bit more, we had some comedies, we had some thrillers, we had some action stuff.
Right.
We're going to switch gears a little bit. It's October now. It's, we're right into fall. So, What happens during the fall? We get some sports. So, I'm thinking...
We get the World Series, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of football.
There's a lot of football this time of year. So we are going to go with a football movie, not just any football movie. We're going to go with one of the most loved football movies, which really doesn't have a whole lot of football in it.
It does not, no.
But it's one of those movies that everybody thinks of when you think of a football movie.
Yes, I mean, I think the other one is probably Remember the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
So that might give it away that we're doing Rudy.
Yeah, we are doing Rudy, the Sean Astin classic.
From 1993, based on a true story.
Yes, it is.
Like a lot of sports movies are based on a true story. But, it's interesting because, I think boxing and baseball seem to get the larger share of sports movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think for a long time it's because baseball was the most popular sport in America, especially during the golden age of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then something about boxing where you can make a kind of inspirational kind of rags to riches.
Mm-hmm.
We've already done a boxing movie.
We've done Rocky.
And this is another one of a kind of inspirational sports movie. I guess we also that's not a sports movie. We also had the inspiration of Coda.
Yes, we did.
A while back too.
Yes, we did. Fantastic movie.
But yeah, so this is when I think of football movies, I usually think of Rudy and Remember the Titans. And strangely enough, this is my first time watching Rudy in its entirety.
This was my first time watching Rudy in any bit of viewing.
I had seen the climactic final scene probably a couple different times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
I knew Sean Astin was in it. I knew it involved the University of Notre Dame.
Yep.
I also knew one of my favorite actors ever, Ned Beatty, was also in it.
Yeah.
That was about the extent of what I knew. And I knew it was based on a true story.
Yeah, based on a true story.
So,
and I knew it was, Rudy's a small guy that overcame huge odds to, play football for Notre Dame. Right? But I didn't realize that, spoiler alert, he really only plays for one play of a game.
I think we can get into this. I think in real life, technically, he was in on 3 plays and really only had that one, significant play. One was a kickoff, and there was another play where the ball didn't even come close to him.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, I always thought that it was, before seeing it last week, I always thought that it was just, he got on the team and was ostracized for being so small. But it's actually the opposite.
It is the opposite. Yes.
Everybody loved him because he tried so hard.
Right.
There's such an inspiration.
People in there. He has one asshole brother that doesn't want to believe in him.
Yep.
I guess there's one teammate that's kind of a jerk in a way, played by Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, I was going to say that I did not realize Vince Vaughn was in this movie.
I did not realize Vince Vaughn was in this movie either.
Until he popped up on screen. I'm like, that's Vince Vaughn. That's a really young Vince Vaughn.
Really young Vince Vaughn.
Where he was credited as Vincent Vaughn in this movie.
Vincent Vaughn, yes. That's how young he was. He was Vincent. I will say his acting has improved a lot.
Yes, it has.
Since this movie.
Yep.
It also has a younger John Favreau.
Yes, it does.
Who doesn't, act as much anymore now that he likes to produce and direct. He usually has just small roles within his productions now, right?
And it has Charles S. Dutton, who I've always enjoyed.
Yes. I've always enjoyed. So that was the thing I was going to bring up.
Him in a movie.
Is that it's actually got a really impressive cast, right? So we talked about some of the younger actors in this, with Vince Vaughn and John Favreau, and really even Sean Astin, who obviously, he was in The Goonies, but hadn't really had a lot of success between The Goonies and this. And he was a child in The Goonies, right? So there's nothing that shocking about that. But then it also has... I associate him with a lot of movies in the 90s that were sports movies. John Beasley, he was one of the assistant coaches.
Yep.
Towards the end of the movie.
Yep.
He was in Mighty Ducks and Little Big League, and it has Jason Miller, who is another one of my favorites because I absolutely love his performance in The Exorcist. And for some reason, I always thought like he was one of these people from one of these actors in the 70s that was more of a supporting type actor and that died at a younger age. I realized that was definitely not the case, and that he also has a Pulitzer Prize. And strangely enough, he's also the father of Jason Patric.
Huh. Really?
Yes.
Good old
Whose career got derailed.
Cruise Control himself.
Yes. That movie, not many people get their movie careers essentially destroyed by a movie, but Jason Patric
especially when their co-star in that movie is Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
And Willem Dafoe is also in it.
I would say there's also Willem Dafoe. But like it's just his luck that he decided to get on a boat that was boat jacked by Willem Dafoe.
I mean, Tamura Morrison's also in there. And I mean, he's a good actor. I mean, that movie had so much talent. There's no reason.
And Jan de Bont was back. He's a good director.
There's no reason it should have been as bad as it was.
They essentially were trying to make it a cross of Speed and Die Hard on a boat. But the problem was like Speed wasn't really Die Hard on a bus. Speed was its own thing. I mean,
it was kind of a cross between Speed and Under Siege.
Yes. The problem was like
it's kind of hard to be Speed when it's a cruise ship that was going like what 7-8 knots.
I was gonna say you know,
I think the fastest it went was like 12 knots.
I say as opposed to a damn bus, right? Like
that can't go below 50 or it'll blow up.
It's just really awesome because like it's not the main actor being trapped and trying to kill the bad guy and his henchmen and foil him. No, he's on a bus with a bomb. He can't get to go below 50, and oh yes, he's in Los Angeles. It's not like this bus is on the interstate in Nebraska. It could just keep on driving.
Yeah. Although there's no way that bus could have kept going 50 or high or more in LA traffic.
Yeah. No way.
Which I mean is exactly why they took it to the airport. But yeah, they would have run into a lot more traffic a lot earlier in that movie. But that's not saying anything bad about that movie. It's a great movie. I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
We're going to go into detail about it when we do Speed. Well, we're not going to do Speed, but we'll talk about Speed.
Count on us doing Speed.
Yeah. We're not going to be like snorting cocaine or anything while we talk about Speed. But we're going to do the movie Speed.
If you want some of that, we would be happy to get Gary Busey on here, and he would love
Gary Busey. If you're listening, we would love to have you on,
and you can be on Speed while we talk about Speed.
And then we can also talk about Point Break with him.
Yes, because he was actually in Point Break.
Yes, he was. We could see
he was not in Speed.
We could ask him if those meatball sandwiches were actually like available to him. The ones where you wanted two meatball subs. 2.
He was in a sports movie that was not quite as inspirational as Rudy.
Yep.
Rookie of the Year.
Yes, he was in Rookie of the Year. Yeah.
His strangest role, in my opinion.
It was a pretty strange one for what he's used to doing.
I think we talked about that a little bit on Point Break. But
yeah.
And I'm sorry if Jake Busey is listening. I don't know. I'm sorry, Jake, but we just want your dad.
But we still think, Jake, that you should play your dad in like a movie about his life.
Oh, yes.
You should play the younger version of your dad.
You need to play the younger version of your dad. And it starts with the Buddy Holly story. And then it proceeds. Anyway, we will shift back.
Yeah. Back to Rudy.
There's no cocaine in Rudy.
That we know of.
That we know. Hey, it's early. It's like late 60s, early 70s. It's probably a lot more LSD.
Yeah. So before we fully get back to Rudy,
yes,
I think that we should play a little 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon with Sean Astin.
We do want to play
real quick.
A little bit.
So Sean Astin was in 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler.
Andrew Barrymore. But
Adam Sandler, who was in Billy Madison with Chris Farley. Chris Farley was in Tommy Boy with David Spade, who was in Joe Dirt with Fred Ward, who was in Tremors with Kevin Bacon.
With one Kevin Bacon.
And the reason we go that route is to just get a creative little way of shouting out a listener to the podcast. Our buddy over at the Talking Tremors podcast.
Levi Dylan Burzlaff.
Yeah. He was kind enough to
Talking Tremor. He shouted us both on Twitter and Spotify.
Yes, he did.
And provided an answer to a question that came up.
Yes, he did.
That we always wanted, like, Marvin, where are his parents, right? Well, there is footage of a rough deleted scene, and apparently Marvin's parents were in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
They were in Vegas.
While their son was
being
terrorized by graboids.
Seismic monsters. They ate his basketball.
Yes, they did.
You ate my basketball.
And now his parents probably aren't going to be able to afford to buy him a new basketball because they probably lost all their money in Vegas.
Probably. And we saw how quickly Fred Ward burned through his money. So
yeah,
but yeah, thank you, Levi, for shouting us out. We appreciate it a lot. If anyone wants to shout us out on any of our social media platforms, we'll be happy to
return the favor.
Return the favor. So back to Rudy, since we officially really connect the star Sean Astin to the star of Tremors, Kevin Bacon. There's other roundabout ways you can get there too, but they don't involve Tremors. Yeah. So. Because you can always find a way to connect to Kevin Bacon.
Yes. But anyway, so this was both of our first time seeing Rudy in its entirety.
Which, I was thinking about this too. So is this like our first time watching like an older movie for the first time for the podcast, I think?
An older movie that neither one of us had seen?
Yes.
Yes, I think so. Because the only other one that neither of us had seen was Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that was a newer movie.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, the only movie that's...
I mean, this movie's over 30 years old.
Yeah.
So, like... It's kind of sad because, like, again, when I was looking at some of the supporting actors in this movie, like, a lot of them are sadly no longer with us, including Ned Beatty. Like, I've completely forgotten that Ned Beatty passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
Ron Dean was another one that he is still with us. He was he was actually one of the cops the corrupt cops in The Dark Knight.
Yes, he was.
Two-Face kills in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
He's drinking his...
We'll talk about The Dark Knight one of these days. If you've been listening to us for a while, then you know that we love Batman. And so we're going to be talking about just about every Batman movie eventually. So we're definitely going to be talking about The Dark Knight someday.
But he's definitely much more of a kind of a TV veteran, but he's also another one of our favorites that we've talked about doing. He was one of the cops in The Fugitive that was responsible for arresting Harrison Ford's character.
Mm-hmm. Though it wasn't Neil Flynn.
No. Lily Tyler's in this as well. Not an old man character actor. But, Robert Prosky as good old Father Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be... actually, Father Kavanaugh is real life person. Wasn't made up for this movie. But it sounds like a good Irish priest name at Irish Catholic college. So we can probably dive right into it.
I think so. So even though this movie is over 30 years old.
Yeah.
If you have not seen the movie, spoiler alert, if you have not seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, then pause the podcast now, go watch the movie, and then come back and listen. If you have seen the movie or you just don't mind spoilers, then keep on listening. But we will be talking about this entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So you have been warned.
We kind of already spoiled it because we did kind of say that he plays a football game.
Yeah, but that was
at the
already,
end of the movie.
That was already, obvious about it, I would think.
I would hope so.
Especially since, by the way, isn't one of the posters him being carried off the field?
Yeah, it is.
On everybody's shoulders?
Yes.
So
I we'll get into it later. There's some of the kind of the real story behind it. But this is actually the 54th most inspirational movie according to AFI. Of course, that was like 15 years ago when they had that list.
The 54th most inspirational movie.
Yes.
Well, it's our 50th episode. So, I mean,
yes,
only 4 off.
It is.
So, I'd say that's close
By
enough.
the way, happy 50.
Yes.
That's a nice round number.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That sets up nicely. We got to think about,
just a few more, and we've been doing this for an entire year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I think one of the things that struck me watching this, again, the actual event takes place like in 1974, 1975, but it takes place over like a course of a few years, right?
Yeah.
I think in terms of the main story, like I don't think I necessarily expected that.
I didn't either. I mean, there's a few time jumps in there, just like, your typical biopic.
Right. Like you see him as a young boy. Mm-hmm. Perfectly fine, right?
Now, real quick, do you pronounce it biopic or biopic? I've heard both.
Biopic? What?
Yes. And I've heard biopic enough to make me kind of wonder if it's actually supposed to be pronounced that way.
I think it's biopic.
Me too. I've always called it biopic.
Biopic rhymes with myopic, and myopic has a Y.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Like, it's a biography.
Yeah. Which was where biopic would make sense, but biopic, because it's a picture.
But you say your bio. Like, what's your bio? Like, let's say your biography. Right?
True. Yes. So, I don't know.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I've always pronounced it biopic, but I've heard biopic enough lately that I'm starting to wonder if it's really supposed to be pronounced that way. But if anybody who's listening knows the actual proper pronunciation of that word, please let us know.
I'm sure there might be some linguists listening.
Mm-hmm.
Please drop us a note. Talk about linguists. I watched the movie Arrival last night with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really good.
I have not seen that one yet.
Anyway, very different movie than Rudy.
Yes.
That's sci-fi. We do that.
Rudy's not very
that
sci-fi.
is definitely pronounced sci-fi.
Yeah, not sci-fi, not sci-fi.
Or sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's sci-fi.
Then why did the Sci-Fi Channel change the spelling to SYFY?
Don't get me started. So it was best in the 90s, and they had when they would play movies like Trevor's. They were responsible for actual good, like direct to like cable movies also.
Yeah.
Like Tremors 2 Aftershocks.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Back to Rudy.
When Joliet, Illinois, right? So like I could not have told you that. That's really where he was from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and his name is actually Daniel Eugene Rudiger.
Yes, but his nickname is Rudy.
Which they don't really explain. That's fine.
He's the youngest of three boys? Got two older brothers?
Okay. So
that's what it seemed like anyway.
That's what it seems like.
Or is there another one that's there somewhere that's just never really...
We don't really see.
Has a big part in the movie.
They don't get into it. There's a brief point at the end of the movie where I think they talk about his younger siblings. So apparently he was actually, in real life, the third of 14 children.
Okay. The third of 14. So not the youngest.
But the movie definitely makes it, and let's talk about what we see in the movie. He seems like he's the youngest of the brothers, right? And it starts off right away because they're playing a game of neighborhood football. And of course, like any younger brother, he wants to play with his older brothers.
Yeah.
And their friends. And of course, he's just at this point, he's just smaller because he's like
he's
8
a kid.
And they're 12, 13, 14 years old. Yeah. Right.
So naturally, he's going to be smaller.
They make him all-time center.
Because they don't want to hurt him.
Like really good older brothers.
Yeah.
So, and it's Joliet, Illinois, like we said, and I really like the establishing parts of it. Like, there's a very natural feeling to this movie, right? And kind of like Rocky in a way, right? We talked about Rocky, and like Rocky has a very natural feeling. Like, it doesn't play up kind of that inspirational kind of story until we get closer to like the climax.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just kind of a very standard kind of drama. And, it sets the mood because at this point, it's probably like, he's like 8, 9, maybe 10 at the most. Like the late 50s. And he's the only one. And you can tell it's a industrial town.
Yeah. And he's the only one who's playing football at the moment that is wearing a helmet. And he's wearing a Notre Dame helmet.
He loves Notre Dame.
We found out really early on. He doesn't just love Notre Dame. He's obsessed with Notre Dame.
Obsessed with it.
He eats, sleeps, dreams Notre Dame.
Like, he has, like, at this time, right? They have a TV and they can watch Notre Dame games, right? But, and he'll also listen to, the radio calls. Like, he has the whole, the play calls from, the announcers memorized.
Yeah. He's got them on record. He's got records of them. Yes. And he's got them memorized. And,
some kids in the late 50s, they have Batman and Superman comics, or they're wearing like Davy Crockett hats. No, he's got records of football play calls.
Yeah. And coaches' inspirational speeches before games. And yeah, the boy is obsessed with Notre Dame football.
Yeah. And it's not, and it's obsessed
specifically with Notre Dame football.
Yes. Not Illinois, not Purdue, right? not Northwestern.
Which then begs the question. So his goal throughout the entire movie is to go to school at Notre Dame and play on the football team.
Yes.
Which, I mean, sure. Great goal, you can be successful with that. But what happens when he graduates?
Right.
After the 4 years at Notre Dame are done, he can't play on the football team anymore if he's not a student there, if he's graduated. What's he supposed to do after college?
Well, this question does kind of briefly get brought to him.
It's not really, it doesn't seem like it's like he wants to go pro. Because if his goal was to go pro, then it wouldn't necessarily matter if he plays at Notre Dame or any other school.
There's so many people that play sport. I mean, it's the kind of the truth of the matter. If you're really very athletic like that, right? That by the time you're like in high school and you're thinking, okay, yeah, I actually might have a chance to get to college and play, to get a chance to go to the pros.
Yeah.
I think you're more than willing to accept that. Well, yeah, let's say I'm from Southern California, I want to play for USC, but ends up the best place for me to go ahead and play is Texas or Alabama or Ohio State. Right?
Yeah,
that's what you do. But like for him, it's not even going about pros. He just wants to play. He just wants to put on a Notre Dame uniform.
Yes, he wants to put on a Notre Dame uniform and go out on the field. He doesn't care if he gets touchdowns. He doesn't care. He just wants to play in a game at Notre Dame.
We don't really get into when he's like the 8, 9, 10-year-old, but like we get a scene then he's a senior in high school, right? And the coach is like, yeah, he rattles off about 4 or 5 names of guys that are good enough to actually get a scholarship to play for a college team, right?
Yeah.
And then he allows the rest of the seniors to have one last shot at him with the blocking dummy, right? And Rudy gets to go, and the coach congratulates him and says, always had great heart or something like that, right? He's praising him because like he was probably the toughest competitor on the
because team. Rudy has always been smaller than everybody else. Even as he was growing up, he's been smaller than everybody else.
So he's at that point there where he realizes even if he does play for Notre Dame, like he doesn't want to start. He just wants to wear the uniform. Yeah. He has no delusion or any illusions that I can be first team.
I can be the best player on the team. I can run faster than everybody else, tackle everybody. Like he has no illusions of that. He knows he's small. He knows he's tiny compared to the rest of the players, and so he tries extra hard to be able to stand up to them, to be able to stand up to the abuse that they give him when he gets tackled, or when he's going up against a guy twice his size.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot in this movie. Every time that he's on the field, in practice and all that, they should have been playing Chumbawamba.
They should have been.
Guess that was him.
Yes.
Tub thumping. Because he's like, it didn't matter how hard he got hit. He'd get right back up and ask for more.
Yeah. He was ready. And some
of the bigger players were starting to get mad at him because he was making them look bad.
And some of it was like they didn't want to hurt him.
Yeah.
But others were just kind of didn't even want to bother with him that's a little bit later in the movie.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he doesn't expect that he had, he's not one that's out there to demand to be even on the second team. Right? It's like, let me be the fourth wide receiver or, fourth defensive back. I just, it's funny. I think he's even content enough, well, not content enough. He just wants to be dressed for a game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean,
but his hopes are kind of there because the current coach, Ara Presigian, was a big believer, in having some walk-ons, and even at that, the walk-ons in general always just stayed on the practice squad. Yeah, right. They're the ones that allow the first team to have reps. They run the plays that the other team will play, and they get a chance to kind of anticipate them. So anyway, go on.
And I mean, another reason he wants so badly to get on Notre Dame is because, I mean, it's his dad's favorite team.
Yes,
he wants to make his dad proud, because he's always been, he kind of, it kind of seems like he's sort of the black sheep of the family. Yeah. All right. Because he's so much smaller than everybody else. He, his dad is, he works in a steel mill.
He's one of the steel mills, and his dad's like, look at his dad. His dad's a proud man. Mm-hmm. He does what he can to provide a reasonable living. Yeah. For the family.
He's not a bad dad.
No, he's not.
He's not a bad dad at all.
He is, his dad's basically, and he's got a leadership position there at the mill. He's like a foreman. Mm-hmm. So he's got men that he's directing. And he takes pride in what he does. He takes pride in his family. He takes pride in the house that he has. I mean, he can tell this, and this, even in the scene where it's like, after, as he's like graduating, after he graduates, he's just telling him, he's like, you can work at the mill, and like, you got the union, but you also got all your family there as well.
Yeah. Because his older brothers are working there.
Right. Yeah. His dad, played by, Ned Beatty, he was always terrific. And this is such a, it's funny. I think of,
it's such a different role than Superman.
Yes.
Than Otis.
Also very different from Deliverance.
Very different.
And different from Network. If we want to keep with the Ned Beatty 70s movies. He is does not squeal like a pig in this movie.
No, he does not. At least not on camera. But yeah, so every time that Rudy, mentions that, he's going to go to Notre Dame, he's going to grow up, he's going to go to Notre Dame for college, he's going to play on their football team. His dad always kind of just laughed at him because he didn't think that he could do it because he's so small. And because, I mean, his dad he spent his whole life, as, blue collar worker. Right.
So, I mean, there's a second aspect to it as well, where it's not just like, okay, there's the part like, oh, yeah, they're way too small to play football. College football is, right? Yeah. He also has the second part that he does not do well in school.
That too. Yeah.
So even getting into Notre Dame would be difficult. It's like maybe there's some college you could get into and play that has less rigorous academic standards.
Yeah, Rudy's GPA is not great.
It's not that he's a bad student. He just struggles with school. Yeah. He's not one that's skipping class, and he's probably like a C student. Yeah. And C students don't get into Notre Dame.
No.
So, so his dad tries to stay realistic. And, we get a story about how, his dad basically dreamt too big and squandered everything.
Yeah. Right? So he doesn't want that for his son.
He plays it safe.
Yeah.
Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. No. And part of it's like he doesn't want his son to be hurt. He's a parent. You don't want to see your kid struggle. I get it. He plays it so. Again, it gets back to what I was saying at the beginning, like especially with the supporting actors. All of them do such a really good job. It's such a realistic feel to this movie. Yeah, because sometimes within sports movies they play with the melodrama a lot. As much as like. In high school, like when Remember the Titans came out, and it's a good movie. I like Denzel on it, right? But I don't think it's as good as Rudy is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think Remember the Titans has much more a feel of a Hollywood production. Yeah, this just feels like natural. And the director of this movie also directed another sports movie that I think is really good. That also involves an Indiana team, Hoosiers.
Yes.
with the great Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper. Barbara Hershey. There's actually an actor that's similar between these movies. We'll get to him later. So, but what's interesting though is like in real life, after he graduates, he actually goes to the Navy for a couple of years.
Huh.
Which granted, it's the late 60s, so like I don't know. When I looked it up, I couldn't tell if he just enlisted or if he was drafted.
Okay. I mean, either could be that time period.
Right. So that was for a couple of years. Then he goes back to the mill. Right. So he gets back to the mill, and he's the daily slog of work. Right.
Yep.
Like, yay, work.
Yeah, but he gets to work with his best friend,
Pete.
He gets to work with his best friend, Pete,
Everyone's
who's been
best
by
friend
his
is
side since
Pete.
they were kids.
And he's one of those best friends that encourages you and tries to lift you up in everything.
Everybody else, would always laugh at Rudy every time he'd say that he was going to go to Notre Dame. Pete actually believed that he would make it there someday. Pete encouraged him. He was a great friend to him.
And I can't click on his name. Christopher Reed plays Pete. Christopher Reed.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets to the point where like he also he saves up his money and buys like a Notre Dame Letterman jacket.
Yeah, for Rudy for his birthday.
For his birthday.
Yeah.
I love the scene too because the little break room and they're having their lunch and Rudy loves it. He puts it on right away, right?
Well, first up, he's Pete's like, you know what today is? Rudy tells him the day of the week and he's like, it's also your birthday, dude.
And like you get that he's it's again. He's working, I think for a lot of people after high school, sometimes there's a reality hit of like a slog of a job.
Yeah.
But he's also like, you can tell like he thinks he has this dream that seems very, very unattainable at the moment.
Yeah. So Pete gives him a Notre Dame Letterman jacket and it's the best gift Rudy has ever received.
He loves it.
He loves it. He puts it on right away, fits him perfectly, and he wears it for most of the movie.
He does. And then he has his candle. And his ho-ho. Mm-hmm. He blows out his candle.
Well, it's his cupcake.
It's cupcake. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't a ho-ho. It was his cupcake. It's like a Hostess cupcake. Yeah. Anyway.
A little swirly frosting on top. Well, it's a match that he puts in there.
Oh, that's what it is, a match. Yeah, they don't have candles.
Because he lights a cigarette with a match, and then he puts the lit match in the cupcake.
Yes. Hey.
You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do. And guess what? Working in a factory in the 70s, they're probably smoking a lot of cigarettes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. So they're there. They're still working in the mill, and then
they go to the bar afterwards. No, they go to the bar afterwards.
Oh, that's right. The bar. First. That's right.
So they go to the bar afterwards, and they're sitting next to Rudy's older brother, who has never really been all that nice to Rudy.
Yeah. Like I said, he's not just typical older brother. Like, okay, I'm gonna be a little bit of a jerk.
Yeah.
No, he's literally just like a bit of an actual asshole to him.
Yeah. So, he starts trying to get into it with Rudy a little bit, and Pete steps in and, starts telling him what's what and gets Johnny all riled up. Or is it Frank?
Frank.
That's Frank. Okay. Gets Frank all riled up.
Frank. Yeah.
Like the point where he's about to fight Pete until Daniel Sr., Ned Beatty, steps in, and then he tells the bartender to kick him out.
Hey, he's still a boss in that bar, apparently.
Yep.
They all listen to him.
So then the next day is when tragedy strikes.
Yes.
Or is it the next day, or is it just the next?
Oh, it's the next scene.
Yeah, the next scene when they're at the factory, at the mill. Then, so Rudy and Pete, are getting to work and they're talking and, Rudy goes up top on the little catwalk and Pete goes to an area where, they're smelting some steel and there gets to be too much pressure. They're trying to relieve the pressure, but there's nothing in the lines to relieve it. Rudy's he's turning all the valves and everything,
the valves,
opening everything. Trying to relieve the pressure, but nothing's working. There's not enough, nothing in the lines. And so there ends up being a steel mill accident that kills Pete, Rudy's best friend, the only person that actually understood him.
Yeah, that supported that dream, right?
Yeah.
And so, we get the scene where, it's you get the Catholic Church and they have the funeral, and it's kind of definitely, you can tell it's the late 60s, is the mix of the the old mass and the new mass, and we're walking out, and it's Rudy understands he has to leave essentially.
Yeah.
He tells his dad this, and while he's doing that, he also is leaving behind his girlfriend, played by Lily Tyler,
Yeah.
Who we saw actually like early in the movie, Lily Taylor, excuse me,
Sherry.
And we saw her like,
when they were kids.
As kids also in that scene after the football game.
Yeah.
They get back to the house and
where Ned Beatty's like, "Is this your girlfriend?" And Rudy's like, "No,"
exactly.
and Sherry's like, "Yes."
Yes. And then by the time they get to high school, they're dating, and they're still dating at this point.
And they're looking for a house.
They get to the point where they wanted to look for a house, and he didn't want to do it, and because of the dream, he didn't want to be settled there, right? So, but he was he was actually thinking with the head on the shoulders.
Yes, he was. So anyway, at the funeral, so he ends up walking out.
Yes,
because it's a funeral for his best friend.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's like, he ends up walking out, just going right outside the door, and so Sherry comes with him. She follows him out, and does what she can to comfort him. So he knows he's got to leave. Yeah,
no, I mean he's determined. He's set that like this is the turning point. Like this is when I do it.
Yeah,
so, you get it. It's like I think losing a best friend, right? But then losing your best friend in a workplace accident where you also work.
Yeah. And when you're trying everything you can to keep it from happening, but nothing you're doing is working.
Yeah. So I definitely get that decision.
So immediately after the funeral, he goes to the bus station.
And that's when his dad ends up meeting him there at the bus station.
Yeah.
Tries to talk him out of it. And, again, such a gentle scene. Like, he doesn't scream. He doesn't yell at him. Right, he doesn't have any large display of any real like emotions. It's not like crying, right? Yeah. You can tell he's upset by it, and part of it's like, it's more than just his like not believe, being scared that his son's dream won't come true, but like it's also like losing his son.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and so
not that South Bend and Joliet are that far away from each other, but still, like he's an honest working man, doesn't really have a lot in his savings, probably.
Yeah. And so finally, he tells Rudy, "You can have a couple weeks off."
Yeah.
When he realizes that he's not going to be able to stop him from going.
Yeah.
He's like, "You can take a couple of weeks off from the mill."
If we get, and we got pretty much with that intention, right? That like, okay, you get there, you realize you made a mistake,
you turn around and come back,
and you can come back, and
it's like nothing ever happened.
He didn't formally resign.
Yeah.
Right. So, but Rudy knows, like, that's, I'm not coming back. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah.
So, he gets on the bus. It's late at night. All the, I shouldn't say all of them, but it almost seems like it's at night. No one takes the 11 a.m. train to leave town.
Yeah.
No, it's always the late one, or it's early in the morning. Like Jetty, and she gets the cab. she finally shags Forrest, and then she gets up at 6 a.m. and gets a cab.
Yeah. Forrest Gump.
Another movie that takes place during this time period.
Yes, it does.
It's funny. I actually thought about Forrest Gump with this though, because he goes to Alabama.
Yeah.
He plays football, and he has no idea what he's doing.
Yep. But he could run.
It's actually kind of this ongoing metaphor within Forrest Gump is that he's naively and blindly going through these decades of turmoil.
Yep.
And it's ironic because all the other people are also doing that, even though they're actually intelligent.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway.
Yeah, but we'll get into that if we do Forrest Gump. So, I mean, you and I have we have different opinions on that movie.
Yeah.
So maybe we should do it one of these days just to see how
I do think it would be
opinions
interesting to do one where we have different opinions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We should definitely do one where we have different opinions.
We'll slap one of those with an explicit because they might be calling. There might be something, "You stupid motherfucker."
Yep.
That always rings better when they say "fucker." Anyhow, this is it's a PG movie. What are we doing?
Yeah. But anyway, so he gets in the bus, and he
gets to South Bend. Like, it's Joliet. Like, again, it's not that far. So
mm-hmm.
when he gets to, it's like, is it raining when he gets to South Bend? Like, he's walking up to the gates of the university.
Yeah.
Like, I was wondering about this. Like, it seemed like there's one gate to the university. Like, there's got to be more ways to get into the like Notre Dame today. There's not just one guard there, mm-hmm. Right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Notre Dame, Indiana, directions from Joliet, Illinois. Yeah, you're talking like right now, it'd be a 1 hour and 47-minute ride. 107 miles.
Yeah, so I mean, he's not going far.
And what I thought is like, that's mostly interstate, and like this is late 60s, early 70s. Like Eisenhower's, like a lot of the interstates have already been built. Anyway, he gets there and he's talking to the security guard, and he just seems confused about why he's there, right? And at first he thinks he wants to enroll. It's like, no, I he just wants, like, I want to play football. His guard still isn't like,
he's like,
who wants, like,
I want to go to school here. Talk to him. Yeah.
It's like, I think you need to talk to a priest.
Yeah, because at first he's like, I want to go to school here. He's like, the admissions office doesn't open for a couple more hours.
Right. It's just like, oh, I'll just wait.
And he's like, yeah, but I want to play football. He's like, then he's like, I think you need to talk to a priest. So he directs him to the priest,
Father Kavanaugh.
To Father Kavanaugh,
who thankfully is up.
Mm-hmm. And so he's talking to him. They're having a very interesting conversation, and then all of a sudden it's revealed that Father Kavanaugh thinks that he's there because he wants to go into seminary.
Right. Which is a completely reasonable expectation.
Yes.
I mean, he's a little confused because, like, we can't have this conversation in about 4 hours over breakfast.
Yeah.
It's 4 a.m. What are we doing? And then gets out, like, he wants to play football. He wants to walk on, and but they actually do, like, a conversation because he realizes, like, I don't think you have the grades to go here. Like, so I don't know if the movie really specifies it, but Father Kavanaugh was actually president of the university back in the 50s.
Okay, so that would be why he has the pull that he has.
Yes. So they don't really.
Yeah, they didn't. They never mentioned that in the movie.
Right. I was kind of confused about that, but why the guard were directed to him. So who kind of has more, I think at that time, like an advisory type of role.
Yeah, and that explains exactly why he's able to make the deal with Rudy that he does.
Yeah. So, what ends up being is that he can get enrolled at Holy Cross College, and he can try to get his grades up.
Mm-hmm. The junior college that's associated with Notre Dame.
Yes. Which is now a 4-year college, by the way. But yeah, it's a junior college that's been recently established, and as a way to get those grades and then eventually enroll.
So basically, he tells them, you do a semester at Holy Cross, get good grades, and we'll see about getting you into Notre Dame. So
he does that. He does enroll, but he also makes sure he takes a chance to stop by the head coach's office.
Yes.
And this is a classic scene where the secretary tries to stop him, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, he just walks right in. And when the coach tries to kick him out, he's like, "But I know you're interested in walk-ons."
And
it's like I've always known that you have an open door policy, and you never turn down somebody who wants to walk on.
So the coach, in a way, in some ways, like we don't get a full, in-depth look at him. Like, it's funny. Like, we get actually a big contrast between him and the coach at the end. Mm-hmm. Right? You know, he's kind of a quiet type of guy, right? Which is not always what you expect with like a football coach, right?
Yeah.
You expect loud, right? We don't get a full scope of his humor, but he kind of reminded me of Driscoll.
I can see it. I can totally see it.
He looked like he could be, again, probably about the same age as Driscoll back at that time.
Yep.
And not very big himself, right?
Yep.
Like, if you look at them down the street, you want to say,
totally
that's a football player with them, right? Some coaches have that look where they also look like football players, right? Not them.
Yeah. Which, by the way, anybody who's listening to this that doesn't know who Mr. Driscoll is, Mr. Driscoll was our Latin teacher who was also the football coach of our high school.
Greatest Latin teacher ever.
Yes, absolutely. Greatest Latin teacher ever.
I don't know. Maybe our procedure taught Latin at Notre Dame. I had no idea.
Maybe.
But yeah, there's a simplicity again to him though. Like he hears it out, and that's it. Like, he could have been like, "Get out!" Right? Could have thrown whatever it might be. Right? He indulges him. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we don't see him again for probably about 45 minutes or so. So, right. And now we get his time at Holy Cross at the prep school, right? Or the junior college.
Yeah. And we see him in class, and he is writing down everything that the professor
single thing in this lecture.
Yes. Everything that the priest is talking about, he is writing it down. Like word for word. And we get a glimpse of Jon Favreau sitting across the room, just looking over at him, seeing how much he's writing.
Yes. And we find out Jon Favreau is the TA. Mm-hmm. And he tells him, you don't need to write all that down.
He kind of jokes, like, what, are you studying stenography?
And he's just like, and all of this is like, yeah, I can help you.
Yeah.
And the condition is
if you need an A, then I can help you. I can tutor you because I'm the TA, but I'm also a tutor for hire. So I can tutor you to help you get A's.
But you got to get me girls.
Exactly. So then Rudy's like, I don't have any money. He's like, well, we could probably work something else out. I mean, I've seen you with the ladies. You can talk to the girls easily. And so I want you to talk to girls for me.
And, I guess some things have really changed with Jon Favreau. Awkwardness. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's interesting thinking about it.
Yeah. And, so Jon Favreau plays D-Bob. D-Bob is his name.
And, it's funny. They actually will land a friendship.
Yeah.
After this, right?
Yeah.
And it's really through that, while they're studying, they discover that Rudy is dyslexic, mm-hmm. which is a big part of why he struggles at school despite making an effort.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I'm sure in the late 60s, early 70s, the resources to help people with dyslexia were very different than they are now. Mm-hmm. So, we also see Rudy. He goes back to the football field, right? Mm. Well, he tries to get to a game first, right?
Yeah.
No one will sell him a ticket.
Yeah. He's got $10. He's trying to buy a ticket off of anybody who will sell it to him. They're all walking into they're walking to the stadium.
And which I think is fun.
And a kid offers to sell him his ticket for $20.
For $20, yeah.
But he doesn't.
I always thought it was funny because like $10, like that's 19. Let's call it 1970.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a decent amount of money in 1970.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, let's see, inflation rate. Inflation calculator. $10 in, let's see, October of 1970 in October of 2024. Yeah, so I had to use it September. They don't have they couldn't calculate for October yet. $80 is the equivalent of $80 today, which is not an insignificant amount of money to offer for a ticket.
No, especially when he's going to a junior college, has no job,
does not actually have lodging yet.
Yeah, he doesn't have a place to live.
Right. So I mean, yeah, he took whatever he had in the bank from working at the mill.
Mm-hmm.
He had to buy a bus ticket.
Yeah,
he's had to eat since then, right? He had to enroll. That had to be some money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like again, $80. Like if I was 12 years, if I'm a 12-year-old, if I was 12 right now, so hell, I'd take $80 right now.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah,
like oh okay, yeah, I'll take $80.
Mm-hmm. But
like,
yeah, nope. The kid wanted $160.
I know what I got.
Yeah, so he can't attend the game.
No, but eventually we see him get onto the field.
Yeah. So he goes up to the gate, and it's locked with a chain, but he pushes the gate. There's just enough slack in the chain for him to squeeze through.
Because he's small. Thankfully, he's small.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's not a linebacker for an offensive lineman.
Thankfully, he's not Jon Favreau. Because Jon Favreau could not have fit through there.
No, he could not have. Why? He always could have just been the kicker.
Yeah.
Or the punter.
He could have been.
Anyhow, he gets in, and then he's on the field, and the head groundskeeper sees him.
Fortune. Yeah, I mean, we don't get a clear look at him, but we hear his voice. He's standing up in the stands. He's up in on the steps between the seats, and
played by the terrific Charles Dutton, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he calls down to him. He's like, "You're not supposed to be here." And Rudy's like, "I'm going to play here someday."
You could hear him and like hell you are, you skinny white boy.
So
anyway,
they have a little conversation there, and Rudy's just sort of soaking it in that he's standing on the field at Notre Dame.
Right. And eventually, it's not in this scene, but he kind of comes back when they're when he's working on the field with everybody else, and they're like aerating it and everything, right? And
he comes back.
He finally offers him a job.
Yeah. Well, Fortune, again, he's like, "I thought I told you were not supposed to be here."
That's right.
And he's like, I was hoping that you might need some help, because Rudy's willing to put in the work.
Mm-hmm. So, if he can't play on the field, at least he can work on the field.
Yeah, if he can't play on the field, at least he can help maintain it.
Yes.
So, he's talking to Fortune, and Fortune's like, "We don't have any openings." And so he goes on a little more, explaining his love of Notre Dame and his dream of playing. And it's sort of tugging at Fortune's heartstrings. So he gives him a job.
Yep. Minimum wage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Rudy said that he'll work for free. Yeah. You know, and Fortune's like, you're crazy. Nobody wants to work for free.
No one's working for free.
Rudy's like, I don't care. I just want to be here. So
there's also an aspect of Tim to Rudy.
Yes.
Like, I'll polish your balls for you, Benjamin.
I'll polish your puck.
Anyway, he takes a job.
Right. So he takes the job for minimum wage. So he is going to be getting paid for it.
Yes. And, eventually we see them like they have their office and lockers, right? And also within the bowels of the stadium. Mm-hmm. And there's a little like break room and a table. And
there's
eventually,
cot next to the desk.
Scott's like, oh, what's that for? They say, oh, do you like live here too?
And Fortune's like, no, the cot's there for when my sciatica acts up.
Right. Damn sciatica.
Mm-hmm. I hate sciatica. Back when I hurt my hip, I had terrible sciatica from that.
Oh, man. Oh. Isn't that an interesting name for like a condition, sciatica?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it has to do with your sciatic nerve, so.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just saying, I mean, that's part of what I mean. Like, sciatic nerve. Yeah. Anyway. There's an interesting sounding to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, eventually, when he finds out, like, oh no, he doesn't sleep there overnight, he devises a plan, and he ends up unlocking the inside of. It's one of those things where it's like kind of below ground, right? The large window at the top of the ceiling, the room, going up to the ceiling, which is really at the ground level.
Yeah.
Outside, right?
Yeah, so
so he just unlocks it,
going to get the hose. Yeah, so Fortune sends him to get the hose off of the top of the lockers. So he goes and grabs the hose, and then when he thinks Fortune's not looking, he sort of puts a chair over there, climbs up, and unlocks the window.
Right.
As Fortune looks over and sees what he's doing.
Right.
And then just.
And right now we're kind of going back and forth because there's a chunk of this movie, the middle part of the movie, where it's him really at Holy Cross as he's trying to get into Notre Dame. That's his goal. And
so I mean, it sort of cuts between him in class and him with Jon Favreau, trying to introduce him to girls and
him trying to introduce girls to Jon Favreau and both of them not having a lot of luck. Eventually, he gets he's in there and he finds a key on the cot, so he doesn't have to keep slipping through the window.
Yeah. Yeah, a key and a blanket.
Yes.
He finds the key to the maintenance office and a blanket sitting on the cot. And so the next day he goes out to Fortune and he thanks her for the key, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking about. What are you talking about, Willis?
But the key, he's like, you heard what I said. And then Rudy gets it. He's like, don't mention it. Because he's not supposed to be doing this.
Fortune's a badass with the heart of gold.
Yes, he is.
If he was on Oceanic Flight 815 and John Locke was not on that flight, now, Grant, he would not be immobilized.
No, but
he would be the badass with the heart of gold on that island.
He would be the Locke character. He would be the Locke analog. So, yes, he would be.
Anyway. It's also at this time, though, like, he also goes home for like Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And, he's gotten better because, he's been getting help from D-Bob, on all his work.
Yeah. And so he shows his dad his report card. He's got like 2 A's and 3 B's.
Yeah.
And
solid report card. His dad's like, oh, okay. And everyone else is coming in because it's Christmas, and finally he sees that he's lost his girlfriend to his brother Johnny,
his older brother Johnny. Yeah,
Sherry is now with Johnny.
Yeah. So he leaves.
He leaves. They try to. Well, Sherry apologizes. Like you can tell, like she feels bad about the situation.
Because Rudy's over there talking to his dad and Frank.
Yes,
and then Sherry's in the house. She's off, and she had greeted Rudy when he got in there and all that, and everything seemed fine between them. But then Johnny comes walking in, greets Sherry in a more romantic way, and Frank. Johnny clearly hasn't noticed that Rudy's in the house, that Rudy's in the same room. And so Frank's like, hey, Johnny, don't you want to say hi to your little brother, Rudy?
He's oh shit. He committed one of the cardinal sins, bro. It's supposed to be bros before hoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally bros.
In this case, literal hoes. Bros. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, not saying anyway. But they both feel bad about it. They don't. But at the same time, he did leave.
Mm-hmm. He did.
And she's wanting to settle down. She made that pretty clear.
Yep. So, and I guess he didn't really give her a chance to break up with him before he left. Because he left immediately after the funeral. So
it was kind of his breaking up. It's
yeah.
It really does kind of make you wonder about this guy in real life, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sean Astin plays him perfectly, though.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Astin plays the role perfectly, and also plays in the role like you really care about him.
Yeah.
And what happens.
Yeah.
That's probably the better way of saying it. It's because Sean Astin, they didn't really, talk really about Sean Astin yet. Himself. He's perfect in the role. And it's funny because it feels like once a decade he gets a perfect role.
Yeah. In the 80s he had Goonies. In the 90s he had Rudy. In the 2000s he had
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he had Lord of the Rings.
And like I said, Sam. Sam's perfect for him.
Yeah.
It almost feels like he's almost an extension of his Rudy character.
Yeah.
Perfect casting for Sam.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's funny because I wouldn't, we will do Lord of the Rings, but
as great of a character as, and we'll get more into detail on this when we do Lord of the Rings, but as great of a character as Sam is in the book, Sean Astin just steps it up. He steps it up a notch.
So here's the thing and it's funny. So I remember, when I saw Lord of the Rings the first time, I saw Sean Astin, right? It's oh, okay, yeah, Goonies. I knew Rudy at that time. I knew the basic idea of what happens in Rudy at that time, but I don't think I really could have said, oh yeah, Sean Astin was also in Rudy. I kind of only associated with him with the Goonies at that time.
Yeah.
Right. And he's really helps really helps embody Sam. Ian McKellen, well, later, because I'm reading Lord of the Rings right now too, so I have a lot of it's on my mind.
Yeah.
So, and then finally, when it was the last, I guess what for the tens, it's funny. It's half a season role in Stranger Things.
Yeah,
as Bob.
Yep.
I don't know if they ever should kill his character off. I don't know. Anyhow, but he's great in this, and so, but yeah, he sees his brother with his now ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, and he walks out. He leaves.
Did he ever pull the John Cusack? He goes back to Notre Dame. He could have thought about
I doubt he pulls a say.
I grant it's not 1970s. There's no boombox, so he could have found something else.
He could have grabbed an 8-track.
he could have picked up a Madagan. Anyway, so he goes back to South Bend, back to school.
At that point, Peter Gabriel hadn't written In Your Eyes yet.
Yeah, I don't know if there would have been an appropriate song for the early
No,
70s
I
that
don't
would
think
be
so.
the crossover.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like if you were to make this like the early 2000s, like you could have just had the someone with the 10 disc CD changer and
Yep.
pulling it up, and it's alternating between like Blink 182 and Linkin Park. And which is when she says no, you just push a button and it goes and then you're in the end it doesn't really matter.
Oh yeah. All right, so he leaves.
By the way, so he obviously, again, this is the 70s. There's no Facebook, so it's not like he can just look.
Yeah, exactly.
At his Facebook,
yeah,
and see like, wait. So, Johnny,
in a relationship with my little brother's ex-girlfriend. Yeah, so he gets back out of Holy Cross, and he is
now he's coming. He's awaiting really the word, like the admissions letter.
Yeah, so he stops by the mailroom, tells them what mailbox he is, and they give him a letter. And he opens it up, and it's a rejection letter from Notre Dame. So
he's going to keep.
He's upset, but he's going to keep on trying.
We forgot about also was a sequence 2 where he tries to join like the Boosters Club, but you have to be enrolled as a student.
Yeah,
he just did it at the time, and like it's a whole really, I guess, a whole like fair of clubs.
Yeah,
in Notre Dame, and then he finds out they get the spray.
Yeah, I was
paint
trying to remember.
Helmets.
I was trying to remember. Was that before or after his first letter from Notre Dame?
I think it's before the first letter.
Okay, so I was thinking it was after for some reason, but
maybe it's right after.
Yeah.
So it's a good point to talk about it.
Yeah,
it's right after.
Yeah.
He's like they get to spray paint the helmets, right? And he's there. There's a girl that's helping to set up. Her name is Mary.
Yep.
Quite contrary.
Yes. Now, it starts out that he D-Bob sees her sitting at the table, and he thinks she's cute, so he sends.
That's right.
He sends Rudy over there to talk him up.
That's right. I forgot about
so
that.
Rudy walks over, for one, like to use talking about D-Bob as an excuse to go over there and learn about the club.
Yeah.
So, he walks over to Mary, and he introduces himself, and it's like, hey, can you just see my friend over there? Can you just wave to him?
That way it looks like I'm doing what he asked.
Yeah, so she looks over at D-Bob and smiles and gives him a wave, and and then Rudy starts asking about the club.
And he gets excited, It's
like because they get to paint the helmets.
He could be excited that he's actually having a nice casual conversation with a young lady.
Yes.
It's like, I get to spray paint helmets. Yes.
Yeah. So,
what's wrong with you, dude?
So then she asks him, are you a student at Notre Dame? And he's like, yeah, I am. So, okay, then sign up.
The problem is when he gets there, when they start, it's like, oh, I need to see your student ID.
Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, well, I don't have it with me right now, but I can give it to you tomorrow.
She's like, okay, yeah, well, I'll need it. And okay, it's like, oh yeah, and we'll go into some bar, right? It's like, well, we all go there afterwards. And it's funny, like, for the most part, we don't see them really interact. We see him say at the bar, and he waves.
Yeah, I mean, we do see them interact because while he's in there, he's helping out in the locker room, then she walks by and he gets up and he's following her around to where they're painting the helmets.
That's true.
And so they're talking there.
But I'm thinking about the bar, like they're kind of briefly at the bar, and you can tell he's actually had quite a few. Like, when he's talking.
Yeah, they're across the bar from each other, and he's had a few. And he's one of those people that he gets talkative when he's drunk, and reveals things that maybe he shouldn't be saying. And so he calls her over and he's talking to her and he's like, yeah, I'm going to be going to Notre Dame. It's going to be awesome. You know, it's going to be great. I'm at Holy Cross right now, but yeah, I'm working to get into Notre Dame. She's like, you're not a student? He's like, no, but I will be. It's like, then you can't be in the club. It's like, can you forget I said that?
She's like, no. She's like a hall monitor. Where's your bathroom pass?
Yeah.
You can't poop.
You're not allowed to poop.
Prairie dog it.
Oh yeah. But
and so of course, he's upset, and back at Holy Cross, and like you know what, he's still helping his bud because they're sitting there like in a cafeteria, and this girl comes up
and she's talking to D-Bob, but he's nervous and he freezes, and so
like, aren't you in one of my classes?
And so Rudy's like, yeah, he is. So Rudy's having this conversation with her for D-Bob.
Jon Favreau the whole time just kind of slightly nodding his head.
And then she's like, you know the dance next week? You've heard about the dance next week, right? And Rudy's like, yeah, he's heard about it.
Yeah,
he's like, I was wondering if you have a date yet. And D-Bob's just silent. And so Rudy's like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. She's like,
that's great. You see my friend over there?
Yeah. And so she moves.
Shy girl,
she moves into this shy girl, those big glasses, this shy nerdy girl. That isn't as conventionally attractive as her friend, who's talking to D-Bob,
who's also awkward. But have you seen Jon Favreau? So he's not exactly Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, especially in this movie. But yeah, so he he doesn't get up and leave.
Jon Favreau,
yes,
we do love you.
We do love you. We greatly appreciate your work.
Forever in your yes, in your both love acting and show running and directing. We love Elf. We love The Mandalorian. Yeah. Please listen to our episode on Iron Man.
Yes, please do. But anyway, so you gotta hand it to him though, to D-Bob, because he doesn't. Absolutely. He goes along with it. He sticks to it. He takes her to the dance.
Hey, the condition was had to help get a girl.
Yeah,
he got a date.
Yeah,
through no effort of his own.
Yeah, so he takes that girl to the dance. And
the fish under the sea dance.
Yes, the fish under the sea dance.
You may also listen to our Back to the Future episodes. Probably
it's the enchantment
under the
Part
2. Because Back to the Future Part 3 does not have the enchantment under the sea dance.
No, but 1 and 2 do.
Different perspective.
It's the first one, the Back to the Future 1, where it's called the fish under the sea dance.
Yes. I thought maybe you want to go with me to the enchantment.
I'm like, your density.
You mean George hasn't asked you? It's like, you're what? I mean, your destiny. Oh. Anyway. Wow.
Oh.
See that one coming.
Me neither. But hey.
So they go to dance, and now Rudy he keeps getting rejected, and he keeps working on the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah,
going through
it's sort of a montage of working on the field, and then also periodically going back and checking the mail and getting another letter. It's another rejection, and each time that he gets a rejection letter, he gets a little bit more upset.
Yeah,
understandably. Yeah.
And then, it's kind of like, it's the classic kind of like mail room, right? And, outside of some lockers, and he opens it there, and then you just see it visually that he's upset.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, yeah, they said no. That's what it is.
But he's still, he's still trying real hard in school.
He's not giving up.
No, he's not. He's determined.
I think it works really
there.
well. It's interesting how much time the movie's able to take place, or not take place, but focus kind of, what I guess, if you want to call it Act 2 of the movie.
Especially since it's not a long movie.
Yeah.
It's under 2 hours.
Yeah. Like, probably by the time the credits start rolling, it's what, an hour, 45, hour, 50 minutes?
Something like that, yeah.
But, again, it just adds to a lot of the realism of it, because, you get introduced to some of these different characters, and a lot of it's like, oh yeah, like it's just a lot of rejection and just,
mm-hmm.
But continuing to do what you do,
yeah,
despite all that,
yeah.
Like at the same time, like, you know what, I'm this close, I'll keep going, and at least I work on that field that they play on.
And I mean, right? there were a lot of aspects of this movie that, I kind of hit me, because I've had similar things in my life in the past. That,
right?
It's like, yeah. So that I was able to connect with it. But
and hey, like maybe he's working kind of very blue collar, kind of menial type job. But
yeah.
But
he's doing it in order to achieve his dream.
Football field and cleaning up all the stands. It's a lot safer than working in a steel mill.
Yeah.
And you could say at least, hey, yeah.
He may have been making a little bit more money at the steel mill, but it's safer work on the field.
And he's getting an education.
Yeah.
And I think there is something to be said. I think when you look at some of these, fields or wherever it is, and you think about all the people that put the work into it, they're kind of behind the scenes for the athletes, right?
Yeah.
Or the coaches that have these grand schemes and are using their mind to kind of think about how are we going to win this game.
Yeah, but all these maintenance people don't get the recognition that they deserve. And this movie does a great job of
really
showing what they do, showing them the respect they deserve.
So there's a scene that's important, I think, where it's after he's, I guess, maybe rejected the third time, and he's working there, and they're all kind of on a little break, and there's going to eat their lunch. He's going down to eat his lunch, and there's the Charles Dutton, right, and some of the other workers are just playing cards, right?
Yeah,
Fortune and the other guys, and he's asking why he's like so upset about this, like, and I wish I had the actual words. I don't have the words up here, but he's, the gist of it is that, there's more to life than just this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
like,
is this one?
What are you really complaining about? Like, what hardship are you actually going through at this moment? Like, you kind of think about it, because, he's African American. You can think about, like, slavery and discrimination and all these other things, and things. We get a taste later of more of his backstory.
Yeah. Is this when he mentions that he's never seen a game at the stadium from the stands?
No, that's a little bit later.
Is that later? Okay.
Yes. It's after. That's after Rudy quits the team.
No. Because there's that's the big conversation later.
Right.
But there's the one when Rudy tells him that, well, when I get on the team, my first game, I'm going to get you a ticket So you can see a game from the stands.
He makes a promise that he'll see this game from the stands. Yes. Right. But that's after he gets on the team. Right. He talks about that.
Okay.
Or on the practice squad. So, because even at this point right now, he's not even a student at Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's still a student at Holy Cross. Right. And so finally, he goes back. He goes to the mail office. He gets the mail from his box. And he has to get it from, there's a student there that gets out, like, box, whatever.
But this time he doesn't open it right away.
He goes outside.
He sticks it in his book, goes outside, sits on a bench, and then opens it.
Yep.
And
he reads it, and they say, like, we are pleased to inform you that we have accepted your application, or we enrolled you, whatever the wording it was.
But either way, he got in.
He gets excited, and now he gets a bus back to Joliet, and he goes straight to the mill.
Mm-hmm. Straight to the mill. Goes up straight to his dad. His
dad's, again, his dad's like the foreman, right? So like his dad's kind of working from an office that kind of oversees everything, where he can speak on the mic to all the workers, and he sees his brother and he sees his dad, and he hands his dad the letter, and his dad reads it.
Here, read this.
And you can tell his dad's like welling with pride.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fully the response that maybe really like expects. Because he's thinking like, okay, his mind's still working towards the football aspect.
Yeah.
His dad thinks it's awesome that he even got enrolled in like such a great school.
And so,
he got accepted at such a great school, right? And so, his dad, he reads it and he stops everything and he announces it on like the mic over the to everyone,
everybody in the mill. And
a lot of these guys that worked with him or knew him as a young kid because he was the boss's son, right?
So everybody starts cheering.
My son's going to Notre Dame, right? And they all start cheering. And through all this, there's these conversations too, where like his dad isn't, at this point, he's been able to actually attend games, right? And he tries to talk to his dad like how great it is to watch a game there and all this. And his dad's
he hasn't been able to attend games as a spectator. He's been able to attend games as a maintenance worker.
Right. Yes. But he's at the games, right? Yeah. And his dad's just like, I got my TV. That's all I need. Right. Again, it is the contrast because his dad's just kind of keeping the dreams kind of on this very small scale.
So Rudy tells him, when I make the team, you're going to be in the stands.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to get you in there, and you're going to watch me play, like live from the stands.
Yep. So gets back to South Bend, right? And now he's enrolled, and he goes back to Coach Parseghian and says he wants to be a walk-on, right? And so they have to go. So you have now whole sequence where it's basically the walk-ons trying out for the team.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a brutal experience. And that's where you get, there's a couple, really two assistant coaches that run all through that, right? So we have Coach Warren, played by John Beasley.
And Coach
Yanto by Ron Dean.
And
right?
Yanto really takes a liking to Rudy.
Yes. Again, it's very similar to kind of like, in a way, kind of like how his high school coach, like, gets up, he plays rough, he plays hard. And like I could use this guy, for this practice squad to be able to help.
And he sees how much heart Rudy has.
Yes.
And in fact, he comments to other players that, are complaining and everything. And he's like, if you had half the heart that Rudy has, you would be the best player on this team.
Yeah. Right. Because, they realize that there's some truly skilled people that are just naturally more athletic and skilled. But
Rudy doesn't give up.
They don't have heart.
Yes. They don't have a little monkey running around.
I'm sorry.
climbing up on their shoulder.
Captain America Hart is lame. Rudy Hart is not.
You mean Captain Planet Hart?
Yes, that's right. Sorry. Yeah. Captain America Hart's fine. No, Captain Planet Hart. Not as good. Rudy Hart, Sean Astin Hart. I mean, like Sean Astin.
Yeah.
I really think Rudy, it's trained him to, to help destroy the One Ring.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yep.
We won't tell you how.
But no, Sean Astin, whatever he's in. I mean, he's just one of those actors that
I was thinking about this
he puts himself into it, and he
does. I was thinking about by the end of this movie, it's probably one of those few movies where like the lead character, even the movie's named after them, is actually like in basically every scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Most of I think any scene he's not in are these establishing shots of things.
Yeah, pretty much.
Shots at the factory, get shots at the football field.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the movie, when there's in the football game, there's plays where he's not on the play. Right.
Yeah.
I think there's one very specific scene that he's not in. We'll get into that. It's very kind of sick.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But, we have a scene where I guess he's not technically in either, where the assistants and Coach Precision are talking about which of these walk-ons should be on the practice squad, essentially. And,
yeah.
He leaves it up to the assistants. And so that they're kind of like working out of the bowels of the stadium. And he's talking with Coach Yanto, and Yanto basically informs him he's made the team.
Yeah. Well, first off, Yanto is fighting for him. Yanto is fighting for him with, yeah. So he's fighting for him with Parseghian, and I mean he's telling him, Parseghian's like, yeah, he's got a lot of heart, but he's small. He's not the best player. It's like Yanto is like, but he does not give up. He will keep going. Get knocked down and get back up again. Never going to keep me down.
Which, granted, if you're trying to run a defensive practice squad,
he is tub thumping.
You do need kind of someone that's doing that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So Yanto convinces him.
Yanto and Rudy are talking. The means like, talks about these different things. He says like, but this ends up happening. No, I'm cut you so quick. He's like, well, wait.
He's like, well, wait. In order to be cut, I got to be on the team, right?
I got to make the
team. It's like, so you're saying that I'm on the team?
It's like, yeah. He gets excited, right? And so he's made a team. He celebrates about it, right? And then, that's when he goes back.
Yeah, that's when he goes back to
Fortune. Talks to Fortune.
And he tells him, hey.
Gets Fortune to promise him.
Yeah. Gets Fortune to promise him that he'll come to his first game.
So he ends up working all year in the practice squad, and you get like Vince Vaughn. He gets surly at him. Vince Vaughn's like a legacy that's not very talented himself. That's basically only on the team because his daddy was on the team. Yes, it's legacy. It's like
Vince Vaughn. No, Vince Vaughn's not the legacy.
That's right. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah. Vince Vaughn's actually he's one of the better players on the team.
Yes.
That he's the one that's mad at Rudy, not because he doesn't like him, but because he makes them do extra work. Because Rudy won't give up. He has too much heart, and he makes him look bad.
Vince Vaughn, sometimes you make yourself look bad.
So you went there, huh?
Seriously. I saw Wedding Crashers. Todd made you such a nice painting.
Yes.
That was angry and violent.
Yes. Yep. But did you care? No.
Anyway.
No.
So eventually,
we got nothing against you. You're a good actor. We enjoy your movies.
Actually, I did love you in Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, you were great in Wedding Crashers.
So,
old school also.
To go through, also old school, yes. Eventually, he gets back into Coach's office, and it's funny. Like you can tell Coach. Oh, by the way, thinking about this, we actually like the In Lost World Jurassic Park.
Yes,
that's fine.
Yeah, and even though it's like the least popular season of True Detective, I actually really enjoyed season 2 of True Detective, and you're a big part of that, of why I enjoyed it. So, yeah.
Yes.
But
anyway, so Parsegian remembers him from that time, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's he promises, last game of the season.
No, he doesn't tell. He's like, it's too late to get you on this season, but next season I can get you on one game.
One game, and you're saying
have you dressed in one game
because of NCAA regulations.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, there's only a certain number of people that can only have 60. 90 people on the team, but only 60 that can actually dress. Right. And
part of the problem is where he plays, it's they can only be so deep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So he tells him, okay, well, he agrees. Okay, next season we'll get you. We'll have you dressed for one game.
Right. Unfortunately, he ends up retiring.
Yes. Not long after that, he retires, and they bring in a new coach.
Not coach, essentially coach. He ends up being coach, I guess. But Dan Devine, who had been the coach of the Packers, as I said. So if you want a little kind of NFL history lesson, he's the guy that replaces Vince Lombardi when he left the Packers. And then after that, he becomes the coach of Notre Dame. But he's played by Chelsea Ross. Who I've not brought up yet, but was also in the movie Hoosiers. He's one of my favorite roles of his is as the pitcher Eddie Harris, who uses Vagisil on his ball to get it to spin more on his curveball.
Yeah, but he's also Colonel Oates from Oates Military Academy in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah. He's also another movie we want to do. He is the senator in The Last Boy Scout.
Yes, he is.
Senator Calvin Baynard. The movie I did not realize he was in was Richie Rich.
He was in Richie Rich.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually looking for something more recent that he's been in. He was in one of the segments from the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, the kind of little anthology movie that the Coen brothers did a few years ago.
Yep. That Netflix exclusive one.
So what I think is interesting about his character here is it's really interesting how they present the two coaches, right? He's got the suit, Parsegian, just like having a sweatshirt.
Yep.
Right? And their offices are so different. His office, he's looks so much more modern, right? And
yeah, I mean, Parsegian was a college football coach. Devine came from the pros.
Yeah. Parsegian had kind of an old school way of kind of looking at game film, right? Very different feel to him. Apparently, the real Dan Devine was not happy with how he was portrayed. Apparently. So this is where we kind of get in, because this is now what's important, because we're leading up to that final game. Because he's saying no, not going to dress, right?
Yeah.
You know, he was actually
because
with the entire situation.
When Dan Devine took over, then, you know, Rudy was upset, and D-Bob is trying to comfort him. You know, he's trying to reassure him that, you know, I'm sure Parseghian passed along that you know, he promised that you'd dress.
Yep.
And whether he did or not, at least according to the movie, Dan Devine doesn't want him to dress. Doesn't want him to actually, you know, play in a game. Or even just stand on the sidelines.
Yeah, no. But yeah. He needs every one of those 60. So I forgot to mention, I was just thinking about this as you were talking about D-Bob. You know, D-Bob's not in what I'm about to reference. I like the scenes too where like he decides he needs to take his case to the higher power, and like he's just lighting candles at the Lord's grotto, and you know, it again, like it really gives off the impression of where he is and what he's doing, and how determined and thoughtful he is about this.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things they realized, like before this was made, like it'd been years since Notre Dame agreed to have any movie like or TV show filmed on their campus. But they allowed it for this. They allowed it for Rudy. So the football field, Lord's Grotto, I guess some of the greens and the classrooms, all of that.
Yeah. And did you know, real quick, that the actual Rudy was in this movie?
Yes, he will be in the final game.
Yes, in the final game, he is in the stands.
I would say he's behind his dad, or that baby, you know, behind his character's dad. So, cheering on Notre Dame and Rudy.
Yep.
So, yeah, he finally gets that decision though, like right before the last game. He's not going to suit up.
Yep.
Well, before we get to this, D-Bob has revealed that awkward little girl that was waving to him
is now his girlfriend.
And he's gotten, I guess, like a job in school in Florida. So is that where it was? I think it was they were going to Florida, right?
Which is a long way from there.
Yeah, long way from Indiana. So they say they farewells, you know, because they have a good friendship.
Yeah, but he tells Rudy, again, he's like, "You dress, I'll be there."
I like this, right? So, like, you know, Pete, he believes in him, right? And you know, they're great friends. It's try to like D-Bob, like it's interesting. Like they became more like adult friends, right? Yeah. And different backgrounds, and at the time, like the relationship was mostly contractual.
Yeah.
Right? But then they grew into this bromance.
Yeah. Into this bond.
And like again, where he's like, yeah, no, I'll do whatever it is, and I will be there at that game for you because like you mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
Like, and it's funny, like, you know, they do a good job of kind of spreading everything around, and like you're convinced by their relationship with each other that like they're like the best of friends.
Yeah.
Right. That, you know, and so, but yeah, eventually it comes, you know, Devine tells him he's not going to suit him up. And it comes time for the final game of the season. Distraught. And he's going to quit the team.
Yep.
Right.
They got one more practice before the final game, and he decides he's going to skip it. He's going to quit the team.
Everyone's like, "Where's Rudy?"
And he goes and talks to Fortune.
And Fortune's like, "You fool!"
Yeah. So Fortune's like, "Hey, aren't you supposed to be in practice right now?" And Rudy's like, "I quit the team." And yeah, Fortune's like, "You fool! What are you doing?" And that's when it's revealed that Fortune. I mean, it's revealed that Fortune has seen games from the stadium, just not from the stands, because he was on the team.
He was dressed
Mm-hmm.
as part of the team. But he quit.
Yes. But he quit because, he was an African American at the time when they weren't the most appreciated people in the country.
And he just kind of felt that his skin color would hold him back. Was holding him back from playing on the team.
Yeah. So he quit.
Makes me think, just think about Carl Weathers and Happy Gilmore. It's like, they wouldn't let me play in the Pro Tour anymore. I'm sorry, because you're black? Hell no. Damn alligator bit my hand off.
Oh, we got to do Happy Gilmore sometime.
That might have to be a piggyback,
with
Hot
Billy
Pleasant,
Madison.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
with
might have to do Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore. Yeah, but anyway, so he convinces Rudy to go back,
but his big
thing
thing is
practice.
Like, you don't need to prove anything else. Like, you've done what you're supposed to do. Like, and it's like, it doesn't matter what other people think about you anyway. It's like, well, what about yourself and how you feel?
Yeah.
Right? He has the words to encourage him that his dad just doesn't have, which is fine because, it's his dad encouraged him in other ways.
Yeah.
So we get a scene, like, get Devine, he's in his office, and the quarterback or the best player on the team.
Like, the captain of the team.
Rudy can dress for me. He's like, I need you. Right?
Yeah. He's like, I want you to dress Rudy. I want you to dress him in my place. And he lays his jersey down on Dan Devine's desk. And then, he walks off. Another player comes in. It's like, I want you to dress Rudy in my place. Puts his jersey down on the thing.
Basically, the whole team.
Yeah, the whole team, just one by one, comes in, just starts laying their jerseys down on his desk. And basically, they're all willing to forfeit if he doesn't put Rudy on the field.
Yes.
And so, he's got no choice but to put Rudy out there.
So, unfortunately, this is where we can get into a historical discrepancy, is that Coach Dan Devine, actually, in real life, several days before the game, did announce that he would dress Rudy.
Mm-hmm.
And this scene never took place in real life.
Yeah. I mean, this is a very movie type scene. So
this is, yes. And again, so like, that's the one thing. It's like, you need the climax. You need everything brought up a bit. This is kind of where you get into kind of the classic type of movie ending, which is fine because
this is where Hollywood steps in.
The movie's earned this, though.
Yeah, definitely.
The movie has earned it from the acting, the directing, the score, everything has earned everything that follows here to the end.
Yeah.
So you don't mind about it. You don't care about it. So apparently, like, Joe Montana was actually on the team. I don't think he was the starting quarterback this season. I think he was like a freshman on that team or sophomore, and he's helped. He's given a lot of interviews on it, right? Because he's Joe Montana, and it's Notre Dame. So he eventually agrees to dress him, and so he has to tell everybody, right?
Yeah. So he calls his dad. He's like, "Hey, I want you getting out here. Once you come out here, you're going to be in the stands. They're letting me dress."
Yep. And his dad goes. He goes with his brothers and his mom. I'm trying to think, how many lines of dialogue does his mom have in this movie?
Not many.
We see a lot of his dad.
So his parents get there. His parents and his brothers get there, and D-Bob shows up as promised.
Yep. I like how they show up very differently.
Yeah.
They show up on a bus, and he shows up. He's being chauffeured to the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his girlfriend's with him too. So,
and Fortune shows up.
He's so excited about it. And Fortune shows up, obviously, and they're all there to watch the game. And like so they're playing Georgia Tech. So they're playing by the way.
Yep.
Most of the game it's a pretty tight game.
Now, first off, so before the game even starts, they're getting ready to go run out on the field.
Oh, yes.
And the whole team, they're like, Rudy, this is your first time dressing, so you're going to lead the pack.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, so, they announced they announced Notre Dame, and Rudy comes running out with the rest of the team right behind him, and everybody's cheering.
Yep.
And his parents are ecstatic because their son is running out on the field with the team, in front of the team. He's leading them.
Behind them is the real Rudy.
Behind them is the real Rudy.
And now we also see D-Bub, and he's excited. He's happy about it. And of course, all the stands are rooting for Notre Dame beat Georgia Tech.
And so throughout the whole game, Rudy's
in the game. It's like
wanting to play
on the sidelines, and he's just right now. He realizes he's not going to be playing at this point, right?
But he's just happy to be on the bench.
He's excited to be. He's dressed. He's dressed, right? And he's watching Notre Dame football.
Yeah.
And it's a close game. Most of the game, it's a close game.
Yeah.
Right. So, but finally, like it's. They get a touchdown. They go by now. They get a touchdown. It's like 10-3. They get another touchdown. It's like 17-3. Now it's like 2 touchdowns. There's only a little amount of time left in the game.
Yeah,
right.
And Georgia Tech still has Yanto. Was it Yanto that keeps on telling Divine that put Rudy in?
Yanto.
Put Rudy in. Put Rudy in.
Yes.
And Divine says no.
And so then finally, there's an interception. Georgia Tech has the ball, and now they give it up, and it's like a little bit over 2 minutes left, and it's like a 2-touchdown game. So like it's basically helps seal the game. You just need a few runs, and that's it. Yeah. So like before the offense goes on the field, there's another player on there that starts saying Rudy. Right, and it's funny how they play this. He's like, they're obviously saying this over several minutes.
Yeah. I mean, he starts it, then, the other players start saying, Rudy.
And then, Rudy. You hear the game being called on the radio or the TV, like, you're not sure what they're saying.
They're saying something, but all the players they're chanting something. I can't make out what it is. And then
they start recognizing that some of the fans, and now it's getting louder because it's at the point now where.
And then Rudy's parents are like, they're chanting Rudy's name. And then D-Bob was like, they're chanting Rudy's name. This is great.
Right. And yeah. Well, I guess what happens, so like they were going to run it out, and they wanted to run the clock out, but instead they ended up scoring another a touchdown.
Yeah.
So the defense could get back on the field.
Yeah.
So Rudy could play.
Yeah.
Right. And the coach, Divine's angry about this.
Yeah, Divine's angry about that because they got more points.
And so it finally allows them to get on the field, and
they have enough time for 2 or 3 more plays.
Right.
They have a matter of seconds left in the clock.
Yep. Yeah. It was so O'Hara is the one that's gonna he overrules that call.
Yeah.
And he's the one that scored.
Yeah. Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah. Vince Vaughn. O'Hara. Jamie
we haven't
O'Hara.
talked about it in a while. We did talk about it a little bit of Vince Vaughn. Yes.
Yeah. So the one that
cheers to you supporting Rudy.
Yes. The one that did not like Rudy at first, came to respect him.
The defense is back on the field now, right? And Rudy, he calls him in. He runs for the kickoff. He runs out on the field. Everyone erupts, and right. And so they got one more play, right? Rudy ends up sacking the quarterback, right? Everyone goes wild again. Charles ends up there's like, yeah. I love the very solid and emphatic clap. He's got the gloved hands. He's like, yeah. That's my man right there.
Yep. So he sacks the quarterback, excited. And that's the game.
That's a game, and he gets carried off on the field.
So all the rest of the team, they pick Rudy up, put him on their shoulders, and start walking up the field. And then you have that classic '80s and early '90s freeze frame. Like the Rocky III freeze frame ending. And you get the text that pops up on the screen saying that since 1975, no one else has ever been carried off the field at Notre Dame.
Should look into that because at this point it's been 18 years, and now it's been since Rudy came out. It's been 31 years.
Yeah. So that'd be interesting.
And they do have like a picture, like real life picture, photograph of like the actual Rudy on the sidelines.
Yeah.
So.
But
that's all. Like again, everything it earns kind of like the sweet Hollywood type ending.
Yes.
Right. It is kind of a Hollywood type ending in a way, but it earns everything in there.
It does
to get to that point where you're okay with it.
Yeah.
So it's funny. Like it's probably one of those movies that's been a blind spot of mine because I haven't seen it.
Me too. And
even though it's a rather well discussed movie.
Yeah,
I think.
And I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
Same. I would agree. I think it's one of those movies that people talk about, movies like sports movies in particular, in the last 30 years or so, right? That's one that comes up. And I think even more so since Lord of the Rings came out, because Sean Astin was such a crucial part of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I think
he was also a crucial part of Encino Man.
Yes. And 51st States. But it's funny how I think Lord of the Rings in some ways kind of helped Rudy kind of stay at the forefront of people.
Yeah.
Because of Sean Astin.
Yeah.
I was like, good way remember that movie existed. And yeah, so I enjoyed watching it.
So did I.
Now, probably not my favorite sports movie. It doesn't have to be.
No.
But I thought it was.
No, but it's a good movie.
I thought it was more what I thought it was.
Yeah, same here.
I thought it'd be a very Hollywood type of movie. I was very wrong about that.
Yep. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie.
Mm-hmm. And I never expected to see Vince Vaughn in this movie.
I did not either. I was watching it. So I was watching it over at my parents' house. I was watching it with them. They had never seen this. They had never seen Rudy either. And so when they're out in the parking lot and it shows the first shot of Vince Vaughn, like, that's Vince Vaughn. That's a young Vince Vaughn. And my parents are like, who?
Who? I don't know Vince Vaughn.
They're not as into movies as we are. But yeah.
That's okay. We love your parents.
I mean, they do enjoy movies, but not like we do.
Well, I'm not that surprised they have not seen Old School or Wedding Crashers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those don't seem like their type of movies.
Or Swingers. Which had Jon Favreau also.
Maybe Dodgeball? I don't know.
I don't think they've seen Dodgeball. But anyway.
Oh, we can't forget his cameo in Zoolander.
Yes.
I love the idea of Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, and John Voight all being part of the same family.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's a movie I haven't seen in a long time.
That might be one to do. Yep. I don't know.
Yep, maybe.
That's a great movie.
It is.
Anyway, we will not be doing the remake of Psycho with Vince Vaughn, though.
No.
And Hesh.
We might do the original Psycho.
We might do the original Psycho. We want to go back. That'd be an interesting one to do.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's Rudy.
It's Rudy. Perfect movie.
It's a good movie. And we didn't really talk much about it, but I mean, the music was good in it too. It was
I
very
did
well
think
done.
about that actually when I was talking about talk about some of the realism and the specifics, and the music is great. It's funny. I just think there's a certain quality of musical scores at that time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was saying it's very early '90s.
It's Jerry Goldsmith.
Yeah,
so I mean it's funny. It's very early '90s. They do a good job of keeping the movie definitely feeling authentically 70s.
Yes.
Like, not this kind of Hollywoodized 70s. No, just kind of very, just like, wow. Okay, I did not live in the 70s, but
yeah.
It feels more realistic.
I mean, we weren't too far behind the 70s.
Yeah, anyway, let's not think about that.
But yeah, we're old. But
like, do people under 30 even know who Vince Vaughn is? We're talking about Vince Vaughn.
I'm sure some of them do.
Anyhow.
Anyway, so anything else you want to say about Rudy?
No, I think that's good. Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. Like, I expected to enjoy it, but my expectations of pleasantly enjoy were exceeded.
Same here.
When I think pleasantly, enjoy, I kind of think, okay, like a B- or so type of grade.
Yeah.
But no, it's probably it's above that. So
I would agree. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. But
now I finally actually know what the movie's like. So.
Yes. Yeah. I was surprised at how little football there actually is in the movie. But yeah, so anyway, if you would like to follow us on social media, Tony, why don't you tell these nice folks where they can find us?
We are on all your major podcast channels and social media networks. And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. You can find us on Twitter or X at R&T Cinematic. That's and spelled out, not the ampersand, but and spelled out. And at Letterboxd at Sign Adventure.
Yep, that is CINE Adventure. And then if you want to send us an email, send it to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure at gmail.com. Once again, the and is spelled out, A-N-D. It's not an ampersand like the name of the podcast. Yeah, let us know what you thought about Rudy. Let us know what you thought about other movies. Is there another football movie that you think is better? Is there another...
That was the point I wanted to make. Is there another football movie out there that would not... we talked about Remember the Titans, but maybe there's another one out there.
Yeah, I mean...
It's not Little Giants.
Are you a big fan of The Blind Side?
Please don't say Little Giants. The Blind Side's a good one. The Replacements. Maybe there's, The Longest Yard. Brian's song.
Maybe.
Another one's not really about football.
Mm-hmm. But that one's got James Caan.
It does. It can also be the Oliver Stone classic Any Given Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or is there another Sean Astin movie that we did not shout out that you really, really love?
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, there's where you can find us on social media. And so if you like the podcast, if you enjoy what you're hearing, then go to your favorite podcast app. Or, you know what? If you want to, go to all of the podcast apps, if you feel so inclined.
I am more a fan of that method.
Yeah.
Where you just like all of them on all the channels.
Yeah. I mean, subscribe, give us a good rating, give us a good review. Leave a comment. As we demonstrated at the beginning of this episode, you leave a comment or good review or something,
we'll shout you out.
Then we'll give you a shout out. We want to appeal to our fans. We want to do movies that you want us to do. We want to keep you interested, and we are so thankful that you're listening. So we want to show our appreciation to you by giving you a shout out.
I think I have one last question for all of us to ruminate on, since we're talking about football movies. And we brought this movie up earlier. Is The Last Boy Scout a football movie?
There's arguably more football in it than there is in Rudy.
And we do plan on doing The Last Boy Scout.
Yes.
So
we've talked about it a lot.
If you want to leave an answer on that, we will be more than happy to bring it up when we do The Last Boy Scout.
Yep. So next time we're going to continue with this fall sports theme for just one more sports movie, which again, is it really a sports? Is it really like we're going to be doing a baseball movie, but is it really a baseball movie or is it something else?
There's so much wrapped into this movie,
but
baseball's intertwined with all of it. And it's important for that, but it's not really about the baseball.
Yeah. And that movie is the Kevin Costner, James Earl Jones, 1989 classic Field of Dreams.
I might have watched this movie 2 nights ago and I may have cried.
Yeah. Oh, it's movie. A very emotional movie.
So,
especially, the one we'll get into it. But yeah, there's one part in particular that, if you don't cry, you're kind of a monster.
I think there's 2 scenes that will almost always, I'm sorry, it's 3 movie scenes I think that always bring a tear to my eye. One's in this movie, Field of Dreams, and you'll have to tune in next week to find out what those other 2 scenes are.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for listening to us talk about Rudy, and we will see you next time for Field of Dreams.